Thank you all. The students that are gathered here tonight have heard me say multiple times over the past couple of days that one of the things that I don't like to do ever is stop conversation, because it is the sound of a living, breathing church, the one in which we live and serve. So I hate having to do that, but I needed to do that in order to get us to the order of the day, so to speak. I'd like to invite to the podium Rachel K. Wind, who's the Executive Director for Development, to bring you word of greeting and welcome tonight. So, Rachel.
Good evening. It is my privilege to stand before you this evening to welcome you all to the ELCA Fund for Leaders 2019-2020 Scholarship Awards Banquet. My name is Rachel Wind, and I am the new Executive for Development for Mission Advancement and the ELCA Foundation. While I am new to this position, I am not new to standing from this vantage point, speaking to a room of ELCA Fund for Leaders supporters. I was honored to serve as the director of the Fund for Leaders a few years ago, and so this feels like a bit like a homecoming. As life tends to, though, things have changed since I last stood before many of you. I know I've grown a bit older, hopefully wiser. Perhaps some of you may feel the same. But more significant, this room has grown. The number of students and supporters has multiplied, and it is marvelous to see. I'd like to take a moment to welcome and acknowledge the cloud of witnesses in the room this evening. Welcome to the 57 student recipients of the ELCA Fund for Leaders Full Tuition, Mission Developer, Redeveloper, and Federal Chaplaincy Ministry scholarships and their guests. Welcome to our Synod bishops. Welcome to the leaders of our ELCA seminaries. Welcome to Reverend Rick Foss and the Reverend Elise Erickson Barrett, who lead the coordination program for the National Initiative to address economic challenges facing pastoral leaders, an initiative of the Lilly Endowment, whose grants have made possible the ELCA Resourceful Servants Program and has supported expanding the fundraising capacity of the ELCA Fund for Leaders. Welcome to the members of the leadership table of the Fund for Leaders who are present tonight, including Diane Hill, who will speak later. Welcome to our church-wide staff present this evening, especially Presiding Bishop Elizabeth Eaton, Vice President Bill Horn, Secretary Chris Berger, and Secretary-elect Sue Rothmeyer. Welcome to all those in this room who have generously supported the Fund for Leaders over the years. And finally, I welcome the extended network of Fund for Leaders friends and supporters watching tonight's live streaming of the Banquet program. That's new since last time. And finally, this is an evening dedicated to celebrating the future of this church. And as so often occurs, celebrating the future includes an acknowledgement of the past. The 57 scholarship recipients that we celebrate this evening all have unique paths that have led them to answer the call to leadership in this church. The church, too, has a unique story that has brought us into the room this evening. 22 years ago, it was the vision of a few to create a scholarship fund for seminary students. A few of those visionary leaders are in the room this evening. I'd like to acknowledge both Reverend Don Hallberg and Reverend Dr. Phyllis Anderson this evening and thank them for casting this vision. And as any vision necessitates, this one required cultivation and attention, pruning and tending, and of course, some really great soil. As many of you are aware, in July, we celebrated the success and impact of Always Being Made New, the campaign for the ELCA. The impact of this transformational campaign will be felt for years to come, specifically for the Fund for Leaders. We set out with a 5-year campaign goal of raising $15 million for the Fund for Leaders. This goal was met and surpassed in early 2018. I'm happy to report that by the time the campaign concluded on June 30th, 2019, with your help, we have raised $20.9 million in cash and commitments towards scholarships. I'm not done yet. An additional $1.1 million toward other leadership initiative goals and $13.6 million in planned gifts. Together, that makes for a combined impact of almost $36 million, made possible by the gifts of many generous people, congregations, and synods. Thank you. The growth made possible by the generosity of many has and will continue to cultivate the growth of our leaders in this church. I'd like to particularly acknowledge the supporters who created new scholarship endowments this year. We give thanks for 4 new general scholarship funds: the Ascension Lutheran Church Seminary Scholarship Endowment Fund of Garland, Texas, the Ruth Walker Holiday Memorial Seminary Scholarship Endowment Fund, the Reverend Franklin G. Sanger III and Mr. Edward J. Wilhelm Seminary Scholarship Endowment Fund, the Eric and Barbara Stone Seminary Scholarship Endowment Fund. We give thanks for 2 new federal chaplaincy ministry scholarship funds: the Reverend Ivan and Catherine Ives Federal Chaplaincy Seminary Scholarship. Ivan and Catherine are here. Could you please stand? Oh, they could not make it. All right. All right, sorry, flight cancels, weather, right? The Reverend Scotty and Karen Lloyd Chaplaincy Seminary Scholarship. Are Scotty and Karen here? All right, let's. Thank you. We give thanks for 1 new Synod Scholarship Fund, the Grace Lutheran Church Seminary Scholarship of Bellevue, Washington, the Northwest Washington Synod. And finally, we give thanks for 1 new Congregation Scholarship Fund, the Abiding Presence Lutheran Church Seminary Scholarship Fund of Burke, Virginia. Tonight, Tonight, we once again celebrate the generosity of Rosemary and Dean L. Buntrock, who have again made it possible for 20 additional full tuition scholarships to be awarded this year, bringing to a total of 60 the number of scholarships awarded through their generous $3 million current gift given over 3 years. Rosemary and Dean were unable to be here tonight, but we thank them both so much for this amazing investment they have made in these students and in the future of our church. Let's express our thanks with applause. It's sometimes challenging to wait and watch the vision come to fruition, something I'm sure both Don and Phyllis have experienced. There are moments where you wonder if the work and sacrifice you have invested has been in vain. But I thank God for the faith and cultivation of the visionary supporters of the Fund for Leaders who have gone before and those who are yet to come. I'm excited to learn more about the students this evening along with you and dream about the future of this church. Once again, I welcome you all to this year's Fund for Leaders Scholarship Awards banquet, and I thank you for being here tonight. I am now happy to introduce to you Pastor Tawanda Marinda, a 2015 recipient of the ELCA Fund for Leaders Full Tuition Scholarship, who graduated this past spring from Wartburg Theological Seminary. He has since been called, ordained, and installed as the Associate Pastor for Mission and Congregational Connection at Faith Journey Lutheran Church in Fargo, North Dakota. Welcome.
Well, good evening. It's so nice to see all of you and to be in a room with a lot of bishops and a lot of pastors and deacons and a lot of leadership of the church. And as somebody who was just studying his journey in this ministry, it's a little intimidating. And so I hope you bear with me if I miss one or two words. But what I wanted to just say is, honestly, to say thank you. Thank you to this amazing thing, this Fund for Leaders scholarship that allows people like me, people like a lot of you in this room, to pursue our dreams, to pursue our passions, to answer God's call. A couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, I was sitting in my new apartment in Fargo, in North Dakota, and I was thinking, how did I get here? Somebody who grew up in Southern Africa, in Zimbabwe, and now he's living in Fargo, in North Dakota. To me, that is something that I could never have imagined. I would never have dreamed about that being a reality. But then the more I started to think about it, the more I started to realize that I owe my life to a lot of people. I owe who I am today to people who have been generous to me. People who have looked at me without question, without even knowing me, and said, we want to support you. We want to see you become the best version of yourself that you can ever be, the best version that God has called you to be. And I am grateful for those people. And that is what this Fund for Leaders scholarship means to me. When I graduated from college, I knew I was being called to be a pastor. I knew I wanted to study. I knew I wanted this to happen, but I didn't have the means to do that. I don't come from a rich family. I don't come from people of means. And so I was stuck. I didn't know where to go. Until one day I got a phone call from Wartburg Seminary saying I had been nominated for a scholarship that would help to pay for me to go and study and be a pastor. And to me, that is something that I never imagined. I never dreamed that could happen. And so today, I am grateful. And that is going to be the theme for this night. That is going to be the theme for my own life, is always be grateful for the things that happen to you. And honestly, if you look at life and you look back and you reflect on where you are today, I hope you are able to see the amazing things that God is doing in your life. And I hope you will be grateful for what God has done for you. All right, I should stop talking and I should pray because that's what I've been called up to do. So, if you would pray with me. God, for these blessings, for food, for drink, and fellowship, we give you thanks. For your love, mercy, and compassion, for these leaders of your church, for our present and our future, for those who hunger in any way. Help us, Lord, to live our days with thankful hearts and loving ways. This we pray. Amen.
If you can hear my voice, clap once. If you can hear my voice, clap twice. If you can hear my voice, clap 3 times. If you can hear my voice, clap 4 times. All right, we're going to get this show on the road. As many of you have probably noticed, there are a few new faces as well as absent faces on this stage this year. Christina Jackson Skelton retired at the end of August from her role as Executive for Mission Advancement and President and CEO of the ELCA Foundation. Christina dedicated 30 years of her life to the church-wide organization, and her leadership helped shape and grow the organization. Her passion for the Fund for Leaders was, in particular, was tangible and helped grow and shape how this church-wide ministry could continue to support future leaders. We will miss her, but also now eagerly await the new Executive for Mission Advancement and President and CEO of the ELCA Foundation, Kathy Freeman Summers. Kathy brings extensive experience in the corporate and nonprofit sectors, is a member of Zion Lutheran Church here in Chicago, and will begin her service here on October 7th. Additionally, in June, the Reverend Gabby Alabuni, who served as the Director of the Fund for Leaders since 2016, accepted a new call with the ELCA's Global Mission Unit. Gabby and his spouse Megan are now serving as our Young Adult and Global Mission Country Coordinators in Israel and Palestine. We wish Gabby and his family well and give thanks for his 3 years of faithful leadership of the Fund for Leaders. Fortunately, we didn't have to look too far for our new Fund for Leaders director. In June, the Reverend Mark Olson, who had been serving as our Associate Director of the Fund for Leaders since 2016, was selected as our new director. Mark's deep commitment to the students, seminaries, and supporters of the Fund for Leaders made this decision an easy one. We look forward to watching the Fund for Leaders grow and flourish under his leadership. It is now my privilege to introduce Reverend Mark Olson and invite him to the stage.
You just made my day, my week, my year. That's what one of tonight's scholarship recipients told me when I called them this past spring to tell them they had been selected to receive a Fund for Leaders scholarship. Another recipient I called exclaimed, "This is so awesome! My heart is pounding right now. I am so thankful." Suffice it to say, all of this year's recipients that I called were similarly filled with both deep joy and deep gratitude when they were told the news of their scholarship award. And then there was the phone call that I received a little after noon one Friday in early April. I didn't recognize the number when it displayed on my screen, and caller ID offered no name to go along with it. And when I answered the call, the distant-sounding voice on the phone said, "This is Rachel San Diego. You just emailed me and said you needed to talk to me. You couldn't reach me by phone when you tried calling me earlier this week because I'm on a mission trip in the Philippines." I was asleep, but your email woke me up, and I called right away. And I did the mental math on the difference in time zones, and I realized that Rachel was calling me after midnight her time. So I apologized for waking her up and quickly told her the good news that she'd been selected to receive a full tuition scholarship from the Fund for Leaders. "Oh my goodness," she said. "I am in awe. This is so great to hear. I am so excited. I have been worrying so much about how I'm going to pay for seminary." Then Rachel told me, I was just on the phone this morning with my pastor back home, and we were brainstorming things that my congregation could do to try to raise funds to help pay my tuition. But this changes everything. And then Rachel said, please tell me that I'm not dreaming. That this is really happening. And I reassured her that yes, this was really happening. And no, she wasn't dreaming. Thanks to this church, and thanks to generous synods, congregations, and countless people, including you, the ELCA Fund for Leaders has been making dreams come true for ELCA seminary students since we awarded our first scholarships back in 2000. Now tonight we are here to celebrate dreams that are coming true for 57 students who are receiving the 49 full tuition, 8 mission developer, redeveloper, and 2 federal chaplaincy ministry scholarships being awarded this year. Scholarships that will support these students as they prepare to become rostered ministers who will serve our church and the gospel that we proclaim in word and deed. In addition to celebrating the scholarship awards being presented tonight, we also celebrate that this academic year, the Fund for Leaders is providing just over $3 million in scholarship support to 283 seminary students studying at our 7 ELCA seminaries. That's more scholarship money and more students than we've ever supported before. And as if all of that wasn't enough for us to celebrate tonight. In addition, the Fund for Leaders, having exceeded its fundraising goals as part of Always Being Made New, the campaign for the ELCA, as was mentioned earlier, I'm happy to report to you tonight that our Fund for Leaders endowment funds, which support our scholarships, reached a combined value of just over $60 million at the end of June of this year. So yes, siblings in Christ, we have much to celebrate and much for which we are thankful. Thankful to God and thankful to you. As a ministry of our church, the ELCA Fund for Leaders, now in its 22nd year, continues to grow and evolve in order to keep up with our changing church and the changes in theological education programs, preparing new generations of deacons and pastors being called to lead our church's congregations and ministries. At the Fund for Leaders, we have adjusted and adapted as best we can to try and meet the needs of our students in the wide variety of degree programs in which they are studying, whether as residential, distributed, collaborative, or cooperative learners, whether in degree programs that are accomplished over 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and whether their field education includes 1 year, 2 year, or culminating internships. We're doing all of that in partnership with our ELCA seminaries, and to our seminary presidents and deans and rectors and their seminary staffs for your partnership and your collegiality, I thank you. In my new role with the Fund for Leaders, I deeply look forward to continuing to grow this ministry and our impact by working closely with our Mission Advancement Unit's team of mission funding directors and the ELCA Foundation's network of regional gift planners. I look forward to expanding our capacity and making it possible for the Fund for Leaders to be able to support more students as we move into the future. At the same time, I look forward to working collaboratively with you, with all of you, with our seminaries, our synods, church-wide staff colleagues, ELCA multicultural ministries and ethnic associations, and all of our supporters as together we do all we can to help to raise up and support those whom God and the church are calling into ministry. Siblings in Christ, we have much to celebrate tonight and much for which we are thankful. For the students receiving the Fund for Leaders scholarships that you help make possible, the support those scholarship provides, they can change everything. They provide the kind of support that can allow someone to answer God's call to public ministry who otherwise wouldn't be able to say yes to that call. They provide the kind of support that can allow seminarians to graduate with less educational debt, thereby empowering them to go and serve as the church needs and the Holy Spirit leads. In short, they provide the kind of support that can make dreams come true. For all of that, thank you. Now I'd like to introduce to you Diane Hill. Diane Gustafson Hill serves as the chair of the Fund for Leaders Leadership Table. She has been an invested supporter of ELCA Fund for Leaders since its very beginning. She served on the inaugural Leadership Advisory Board and established one of the very first endowed Fund for Leaders scholarships in honor of her father, the Reverend Milton V. Gustafson. During her career, Diane was a clinical instructor and senior lecturer in speech and language pathology at Northwestern University. She retired in 2002 after 3 decades of treating children with language disorders, researching and publishing in the field, and teaching graduate students. Diane and her late husband, David Hill, supported many community and nonprofit organizations focusing on affordable housing, education, healthcare, social services, and the arts. Diane continues to live out those commitments through philanthropy and service. In addition to her commitment to the Fund for Leaders, Diane has served on several corporate and nonprofit boards, including those of Northwest Community Hospital, Augustana College, Harper College, Women in Need Growing Stronger, WINGS, and Ministry Mentors. She's an active member of All Saints Lutheran Church in Palatine. In 2012, Diane received the Distinguished Philanthropist Award from the Association of Fundraising Professionals, Chicago chapter. Please welcome to the stage Diane Hill.
What a pleasure to be here tonight. This is always one of the most outstanding experiences of my year. And again, I am honored to be here and talking with you and sharing some of my thoughts. I think when we endeavor to do anything like the Fund for Leaders, we say, why? Why, 22 years ago, did the church vote to support this endeavor? Well, why? Because it's all about the future of the church. The church depends on leaders. It depends on inspired leaders. And so the fund has grown over 22 years. I was on that inaugural group where we had $2 million. We were wondering how we were going to make an impact. But we kept working together. We kept engaging with people. We kept telling the story of why we needed to engage the church in supporting future leaders. The fund serves as the ongoing promise of the church for the future of the church. It allows those who are called to have the opportunity to pursue a path that would lead to Word and Sacrament or Word and Service. And it's so exciting and inspiring to see the young people, the middle-aged people, some of the older people who are called to ministry. They are called, and they know that they can pursue that call because of the Fund for Leaders. Students are not on the path alone. They know the church supports them. They feel that support. And in an evening like this, everyone here shares that support with the students. Congregations are the heart of the church. Leaders are needed to bring the love of Christ to meet the world and the needs of the world. Congregations deserve leaders to help them achieve their ministry goals. So why is the fund? The fund is for the congregations. It's to bring the message of Christ to the world. How about why for the student? Well, we've talked about supporting them in their path, but also it allows students to say yes to a call that might not seem very feasible, but because of the tuition that's provided, the reduction in the potential of debt, they can say yes to the call wherever the church needs them. Why? Why is the fund important to me? Well, I had the good fortune of being born into a pastor's family. And from an early time, I remember my dad always had interns. Early in his career, he accepted a dual call to be a pastor of a church in Somerville, Massachusetts, but also worked for the Augustana Lutheran Church Board of American Missions. So he traveled all over New England. He depended on interns to help fulfill the ministry needs of that congregation. So I grew up with students and interns in my home, and I witnessed the closeness and the importance of those young people to the ministry of that congregation. And I saw how important those individuals were to my mom and dad and to our family. And those individuals continued to be part of our experience for many, many years after they went on to their own calls. So this opportunity that Don Hallberg provided to me 22 years ago to join in this mission to provide a scholarship, to begin an endowed scholarship in memory of my dad, it's an arc that I can't tell you what it means to me. I've always had a passion for ministry. In my congregations, being on the Mutual Ministry Committee, the Support Committee, I served on the Candidacy Committee for the Metro Chicago Synod for 13 years. Pastors and leaders are so critical to our future that this arc that I had this opportunity to help the Fund for Leaders get started. And then again, I was asked to come back 3 years ago to see how much had been accomplished, but even now what we can celebrate. This means so much to me as a person, and it means so much to the memory of my dad and my mom and their ministry together. So although the leadership table has gone through change, but we've grown in impact, I am thrilled to continue to be part of it. I'm thrilled to have Mark as our leader, to serve with my fellow leadership table members. And I think that I want to invite all of you to continue to tell the story of the Fund for Leaders, to tell the story of the people you will meet tonight, and to invite individuals and invite people in our congregation to learn about the fund. All of us should go out and make sure that we invite someone to talk about the fund some Sunday in October. That's Ministry Recognition Month. And I've done that in my church, and it's been amazing, the fact that many people in our congregation didn't know about the fund, didn't know about shortages in ministry availability. We all have a role to serve in telling the story of the impact we make for individuals, for congregations, and for the church. The future of the church depends on leaders, and it's up to us to tell that story and invite others to join us in contributing to the Fund for Leaders. So thank you for providing the opportunity to me to do something that I love, and join me in contributing and telling the story and continuing to support the Fund for Leaders. Thank you.
this time, I'd like to invite to the stage Deacon Jessica Nip Hacker, Director for Stewardship, Strategy, and Operations, and call back up here the Reverend Tawanda Morinda, our Fund for Leaders class of 2015, as they're going to help us as we present our scholarship awards to our students this evening. Students, you can begin, as we rehearsed, making your way to queue up.
At this time, I invite to the stage Presiding Bishop Elizabeth Eaton. It's not on? Okay. She heard me. Rachel Wind, our Executive for Development. Mark Olson, the Director of the ELCA Fund for Leaders. Robin Steinke, President of Luther Seminary. James Neiman, President of the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. Mary Hinkle Shore, Rector and Dean, Lutheran Theological Southern Seminary of Lenore-Rhine University. And Louise Johnson, President of Wartburg Theological Seminary. There are 3 seminary leaders who were unable to be with us tonight. Raymond Pickett, Rector of Pacific Lutheran Theological Seminary at California Lutheran University. Catherine Kleinhans, Dean, Trinity Lutheran Seminary at Capital University. And Richard Green, Interim President, United Lutheran Seminary. But we know that all seven ELCA seminaries are represented here by the 4 presidents, rectors, and deans who bested the weather gauntlet to be with us tonight. And now we will present this year's new Fund for Leaders scholarship recipients with their awards. Students, you can begin making your way. Are you here? Oh, yes. This is a crackerjack bunch of students, as Mark likes to say. So as Mark said, I'm Deacon Jessica Hacker, and it is my privilege to serve as the Mission Advancement Unit's, you don't have to look at me, it's okay, Director for Stewardship, Strategy, and Operations. And joining me tonight in announcing this year's scholarship recipients is Pastor Tawanda Morinda, who you know already. We will be presenting this year's recipients in alphabetical order, grouped according to the kind of scholarship award they are receiving. I invite you to please hold your applause, if you can, until after all the scholarship awards have been presented.
The following students are recipients of an ELCA Fund for Leaders Food Tuition Scholarship for the 2019 to 2020 academic year. Nathaniel Adkins. Nathaniel is candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southeastern Iowa Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Devin Ames. Devin is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the West Virginia, Western Maryland Synod and is attending Luther Seminary. Lass Anderson. Lass is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northeastern Minnesota Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Rita Argus. Rita is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the South Central Synod of Wisconsin and is attending Trinity Lutheran Seminary. Tina Bovey. Tina is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northwest Lower Michigan Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary.
Samantha DiBiaso. Samantha is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Virginia Synod and is attending Trinity Lutheran Seminary. Jean Daugherty. Jean is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Metropolitan New York Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Kyle Duff. Kyle is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Virginia Synod and is attending the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. Emily Arisman, in absentia. Emily is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Pacifica Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. John Evans. John is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southeastern Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary.
Jonathan Fry. Jonathan is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southeastern Iowa Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Sarah Fryman. Sarah is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southern Ohio Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Devon Gale. Devon is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Metropolitan New York Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Elizabeth Gehring. Elizabeth is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the New England Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. James Gertz. James is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Western Iowa Synod and is attending Luther Seminary.
Candace Hinkle. Candace is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Indiana-Kentucky Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Suzanne Hoff. Suzanne is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northern Illinois Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Elise Henick. Elise is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the La Crosse Area Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Wesley Isberner. Wesley is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the La Crosse Area Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Marla Wood Kay. Marla is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northeastern Ohio Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary.
Amy Kelly. Amy is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northwestern Minnesota Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Misty Lampshire. Misty is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Sierra Pacific Synod and is attending Pacific Theological Lutheran Seminary. Sarah Larson. Sarah is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southwestern Minnesota Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Janice Locke. Janice is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southeast Michigan Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Jonathan Liss. Jonathan is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northern Texas, Northern Louisiana Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary.
Catherine Moran. Catherine is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Metropolitan Washington, D.C. Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Crystal Maraska. Crystal is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northern Great Lakes Synod and is attending the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. Rebecca Nelson. Rebecca is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southwest California Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Rebecca is also an ELCA Army Chaplain Candidate Program Officer and is the recipient of an ELCA Fund for Leaders Federal Chaplaincy Scholarship for the 2019-2020 academic year. Nathan Nelson Houston. Nathan is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the South Central Synod of Wisconsin and is attending the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. Daniel O'Brien. Daniel is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Metropolitan Chicago Synod and is attending Luther Seminary.
Rachel Perkins. Rachel is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the South Central Synod of Wisconsin and is attending the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. Nathan Pratt. Nathan is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Indiana-Kentucky Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Hannah Perkey. Hannah is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Rocky Mountain Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Wilmus Roger Randolph III. Roger is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southwestern Pennsylvania Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Roger is also an ELCA Army Chaplain Candidate Program Officer and is the recipient of an ELCA Fund for Leaders Federal Chaplaincy Scholarship for the 2019 to 2020 academic year. Michael Rybo. Michael is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northern Illinois Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary.
Emily Katie Rohde. Katie is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southwestern Texas Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Hannah Sackett. Hannah is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southwestern Minnesota Synod and is attending Luther Seminary. Kurt Sanger-Heil. Kurt is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the New England Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Rachel Sandiego. Rachel is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Sierra Pacific Synod and is attending Pacific Lutheran Theological Seminary. Haley Sheppers. Haley is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southeastern Iowa Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary.
K. Jordan Slappy, in absentia. Jordan is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southeastern Synod and is attending Pacific Lutheran Theological Seminary. Benjamin Smith. Benjamin is a candidate for Word and Service Ministry from the Florida Bahamas Synod and is attending the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. Cecilia Suknak. Cecilia is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southwestern Texas Synod and is attending the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. Andrew Thompson. Andrew is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southern Ohio Synod and is attending Trinity Lutheran Seminary. Kari Newland. Kari is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Rocky Mountain Synod and is attending Pacific Lutheran Theological Seminary.
Morgan Walker. Morgan is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northeastern Ohio Synod and is attending Trinity Lutheran Seminary. Caleb Welch. Caleb is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southern Ohio Synod and is attending Trinity Lutheran Seminary. Amanda White. Amanda is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Nebraska Synod and is attending Luther Seminary. Anthony Window. Anthony is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Greater Milwaukee Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary.
The following students are recipients of an ELCA Fund for Leaders Mission Developer Redeveloper Scholarship for the 2019-2020 academic year. Kimberly Cooper. Kimberly is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northern Texas, Northern Louisiana Synod and is attending Trinity Lutheran Seminary. Clayton Faulkner. Clayton is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Texas, Louisiana Gulf Coast Synod and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary. Miranda Hammer. Miranda is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Upstate New York Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Elizabeth Himmelman. Elizabeth is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the South Central Synod of Wisconsin and is attending Wartburg Theological Seminary.
Marty Jo Irvin Stellabat. Marty Jo is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Allegheny Synod and is attending United Lutheran Seminary. Wendy Jo McAlpine. Wendy Jo is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Montana Synod and is attending Pacific Lutheran Theological Seminary. Edward Rubel. Ed is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Northwest Lower Michigan Synod and is attending Luther Seminary. Corey Wagenfield. Corey is a candidate for Word and Sacrament Ministry from the Southern Ohio Synod and is attending Trinity Lutheran Seminary. Now let's hear the applause you've been holding in.
Thank you, Mark, and congratulations. Welcome aboard, and thank you for saying yes to all of the students who have received scholarships tonight, to their families, their pastors, their home congregations. Thank you for the formation that you have done, and for all of you who are have been supporting this program through your generous gifts. It does make a difference. We've been looking at we've had the Conference of Bishops meeting has been going on today, and we've been looking at statistics, some of which are pretty dire, but somehow God has called these people, and at this time in their lives, they have said yes to service. Now, last month, we had a little meeting in Milwaukee. And we adopted, passed, took action on some very significant issues and have committed this church to being the gospel voice, the true evangelical voice, the alternative face of Christianity in our country right now. I'm not really sure we understand the magnitude of what we said we would do in Milwaukee. I know already some of your bishops are taking some flack for this. And people have asked me, why are we involved in the culture wars, or why are we involved in political posturing? But I am convinced that the work that we did in Milwaukee was based on our understanding of the gospel and the freedom that we have in Jesus Christ to serve the neighbor. And it felt just like this in Milwaukee because we were all together and we knew we were doing the right thing and we had, courage and support in numbers. And then we went to our own congregations and then and that's what it is I think for these people who have said yes to God's call now. But we pledge, your bishops, your pastors, your families, the rest of the church, to stand with you as you help us to answer the call that God has given us. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for saying yes. When times right now are a little, what's the curse? May you live in interesting times. There you go. Please receive the benediction. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Amen. And some of the most important words spoken in the liturgy: go in peace, serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.